How good is this Arizona State Sun Devils secondary? Well, that's what we're going to talk about on this edition of the Locked On Sun Devils podcast.
Are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Go to HelloFresh.com/college60 and use code college60 for 60% off plus free shipping. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Richie Bradshaw, and I will be your guide for everything Arizona State Sun Devils. As always, thank you guys for tuning in. Wherever you're getting your podcast, hit like and subscribe and turn on those notifications so you get an update whenever we post new content. Stay in touch with that content by following me on Twitter. You can find me at RichieBrads36. You can find the podcast as well at LO_Sun Devils. Today, I am going to specifically be talking about one unit on defense. And this is prompted by the recent, and by recent, I mean like within the last hour or two, another transfer to Arizona State University in the form of defensive back Demetries Ford. Goes by D Ford on Twitter, so I'm just going to call him D for now. But for what it's worth, if you look him up, it's Demetries Ford, not D Ford. D Ford is a defensive end in the NFL, but neither here nor there. Point is, Arizona State got another transfer. He's a defensive back. He will be a senior for the team. It'll be a one-year kind of thing because this will be his final year of eligibility. He's really only played one full year of college ball as a full-time starter, I should say, this past year with Austin Peay, and he recorded 33 tackles, a sack, a forced fumble, and 3 interceptions. 5'8", 170 pounds, definitely a nickel guy, maybe even more of a safety. But I look at Ford and I see potentially another Jordan Clark, which is awesome. It's that versatile, smaller nickel guy that you can kind of throw around the defense. It's great news. I don't know if he's a starter. He's definitely going to be playing a role in the secondary, and that's where I wanted to talk today. This secondary, I'm starting to wonder just how good it can be. Let's talk about the guys that are already here. I feel like that's the best, easiest place to start your conversation. It all centers around and focuses on Ro Torrence, who's going into his second year with the program, and last year at Arizona State really just ascended to the very top of the depth chart, became the de facto #1 corner for the team, and really looks like a very special player. And he's 6'3", he's 210, he's got the NFL size, he's got the NFL athleticism, and he looks like he's got the potential to take that next step and become a true lockdown, #1 shutdown corner, all the things that you want to call him. He looks really good. And he's only continued to look strong during camp. And when you're looking to build your secondary, it is so important to have that #1 corner that you can count on to face off against #1 receivers on opposing teams. And you have that guy that you can say, all right, we're going to put you on an island and you're going to take care of your business and we're going to figure out the other 10 players over here. It's like when you have a true shutdown corner, your defense can just really start to be comfortable in the fact that you have one of the weapons taken care of, and that you can focus the rest of your energy on getting to the quarterback or stopping the run or anything like that, because you have that guy that you can trust to eliminate the #1 receiver. Torrence is that guy, and he looks so good. Like, this is legitimately an NFL caliber player, especially if he does take that next step from good to great, or maybe he's already great and goes from great to elite. We'll see. But it's really hard to not be excited about Torrence, is the bottom line here. But he's far from the only stud that's on this defense. There's, in particular, the secondary, obviously. There's a lot of really intriguing playmakers here too, besides Ro Torrence. I'm a huge Chris Edmonds fan. He was a rock solid safety last year who recorded 50 tackles and led the team with 3 interceptions. In his four years of college, he's got 11 interceptions, and I don't see any reason why he can't continue to add on to that number in 2023. He shows that ranginess to fly around the secondary and make plays on the football. And he can hit, and he just does a little bit of everything for you. So I look at Edmonds, and I think that this is also potentially an NFL guy. Let me be clear. When I say NFL guy, I'm not saying these are first-round picks. I'm saying these guys definitely look like they have what it takes to at least get that opportunity at the next level, at a minimum, just to get the opportunity. Edmonds and Torrence both feel like those kind of guys who should get a chance. With Edmonds, he gives you that true center fielder that makes you confident that you can do a little bit of whatever you want in the defensive secondary and know that you have the guy over the top to be able to protect you from that. There's so many other guys as well that are returning. I know that a lot of people are very high on Ed Woods. I've been promoting Ed Woods. I will continue to do so. Last year, 28 tackles, no interceptions, but broke up 6 passes. I think that he could potentially be one of the starters on the outside across from Ro Torrence, but there's so many other guys to consider as well. They've brought in tons of transfers that we're going to talk about here momentarily, but the bottom line is just looking at the guys who are returning alone, there's a lot of reason to be confident in the secondary. And I do want to talk real quick about FanDuel. Grand slams, no hitters, and double plays are back, and there's no better place to get in on a Major League Baseball action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. That's because right now, new customers can step up to the plate with a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon, sign up, place your first bet, and get to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win. So you don't want to miss your chance at your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. Back into our conversation and taking a look at the newcomers on this defense. There's a lot of incoming transfers for the team that we got to talk about, as well as the guys who are returning. In addition to D Ford coming to the program, another Austin Peay guy who's coming in and could potentially play a big role for Arizona State is Sharmi Simmons. Simmons, again, like I said, another Austin Peay guy, definitely more of a safety, and has that ball hawking skills as well. I'm going to double check the stats for him right now. Simmons last year had 3 interceptions as well. He had 56 tackles. You could potentially plug him in to be the other safety across from Chris Edmonds. And that sounds pretty gosh darn good. I just realized that I didn't talk about Jordan Clark in the first segment, and shame on me. Real quick, for what it's worth, Jordan Clark is a stud. That's another NFL guy. Dude is legitimately one of the best nickel corners the Sun Devils have had in the last decade. Has NFL bloodlines, all that good stuff. So shame on me for not mentioning Jordan Clark, at least not in detail, I should say. Anyways, so looking at some of the other transfers that the team has coming into the secondary, Xavion Alford is coming in from USC. He's also got some really intriguing ball skills and will be pushing for a starting role as well. I think right now, across from Chris Edmonds, it should be a wide open competition, but between Sharmi Simmons and Xavion Alford alone, you feel really, really confident that you're going to be able to get a starter out of one of the two of them for sure. That might have been it for the transfers. I believe it was just Alford and Simmons, but there's going to be Keontae Bradley is one of the recruits that's coming in. Sean Russ is coming in. They've got Warren Montana is coming in. There's a lot of reinforcements that aren't on 24/7 Sports that I know are coming to the secondary as well. This looks like a really good unit. This looks like there should be a lot of good, healthy competition here, and that with that competition, iron sharpens iron, all that good stuff. But the bottom line, you look at everything that's in place for the Sun Devils. This looks like it could be a really good, really special, really terrific secondary for the team. And it does make you wonder, what's the ceiling for them? Like, could they be one of the top secondaries in the Pac-12? I don't see why they couldn't be. There's definitely going to be some stiff competition because Colorado's got Travis Hunter from, where'd he come from? Jackson State, as a former #1 overall prospect in the nation. And they got the other #1 kid this year whose name is escaping me. Colorado's going to be tough. USC's got guys. Oregon's got guys. There's going to be good secondary play in the Pac-12, but I feel like you shouldn't automatically overlook Arizona State, and you shouldn't judge them based off of last year's record with their 3-9. This secondary by itself looks so much more vastly improved compared to what feels like anything else on the defensive side of the football. And I just have a hard time believing that they're not going to end up being one of the better units in the Pac-12, I think is my bottom line there. Anyways, looking as a whole, when you've got Ro Torrence starting as your #1 corner, you should feel pretty confident in that. When you've got Chris Edmonds lining up at safety for you, it's another thing to feel good about. Jordan Clark being a master of all sorts of different roles in that secondary, whether that's free safety or a nickel or playing near the line of scrimmage. Feel good about that. Between those 3 players alone, I would feel confident in my secondary moving forward. But the fact that there's still so much more to this Sun Devil secondary beyond those guys makes me even more excited. It's the transfers of Demetries Ford and Sharmi Simmons and Xavion Alford that also have me excited. It's the returning guys like Ed Woods that gives me reason for getting really invested. Isaiah Johnson also is returning as a redshirt sophomore. Really interested to see what the team can get out of him. It's everything coming together with the transfers, with Simmons, and I mentioned them, actually. I already mentioned them. My mistake. It just feels like everything is culminating together for the secondary right now to end up being something really, really special. There's so much intrigue here, and there's still so many guys that could really pop off and be special. And there's some good youth here too. Like this isn't like a senior loaded secondary. There's a lot of guys that are in their sophomore or junior years and have eligibility to be able to stay beyond just 2023. This feels like you could potentially use it as a stepping stone to really propel your unit into the next stage of this program. Like Arizona State has had some good defensive backs. We could make a really weak argument for DBU with Eric Allen and Darren Woodson and Mike Haynes and Demetries Randall and oh my goodness, not Richard Marshall. I can't remember. But bottom line, there's been a handful of really good defensive backs. Maybe we could get that steamrolling again and turn that into some more success on the back end of the defense. There's so many guys here to get excited about and to believe could end up culminating into a special unit that the Sun Devils really haven't had in quite a handful of years, probably since Demetries Randall and Lloyd Carrington were roaming the secondary at the same time. Like, I feel like this defense could end up being a really, really special unit for the Sun Devils. The more I look at it, the more excited I get. And I think eventually, when the time comes for me to start ranking the positions for this team, the secondary is going to be really close to the top in terms of strength, depth, talent, potential, all that good stuff. It ticks all the boxes for me. I don't know that there's any position that I look at, that position group, I should say, that I look at as fondly as I do the secondary, the corners and the safeties together. You combine them together, this is definitely the strength of the defense. And hopefully it'll help mask what's going to be a retooling, reloading pass rush. When you have a good secondary, you have good coverage, you can generate sacks. You can come up with sacks that way. That might be how the Sun Devils do it this year. But the pass rush looks good too. And that's a whole other conversation that we'll have to have. But we'll have a lot more answers to questions as this week comes to an end, because Saturday will be the spring game. If you guys aren't going, check it out. It's going to be so much fun. It's after the Pat Tillman run at the stadium. I believe it's free. Don't quote me on that. Show up, have a good time, watch some ASU football, hang out with fellow fans and alumni and players and coaches and all the like. Have a good time. Get invested in this team. This is such a fun time for Arizona State Sun Devils football. I'll be keeping in touch with you guys for everything else that's going on with the team until then. So wherever you're getting your podcasts, make sure that you hit like and subscribe, and you turn on those notifications as well. Wherever you're getting your podcasts, I already said that. Goodness gracious, I'm like totally mind wiped. Follow me on Twitter. You can find me at Richie Brads36 and the podcast as well at LO_Sun Devils. Till next time, though, you guys keep it locked right here on Locked On Sun Devils.